All right, ladies and gentlemen, very, very big welcome to ICT204, tutorial number 5 in trimester 3, 2021. I'm very, very happy to go and be welcoming you here again for another week. And I am really, appreciating, as well as other team members that are, or other group members that are teaching this semester. We're really appreciating all the work that you guys have been doing week in, week out. It's great to see you guys working hard on a weekly basis to be able to get very, very good outcomes. So all what I would say is big encouragement to continue working hard. We would like to go and see very, very good outcomes being produced by you. We believe in your ability to produce them. So continue working hard on a weekly basis and let's get the job to be completed. Now, the first thing I would like to go and talk about is relating to the group. Is there anyone here who does not have a group and they would like to go and be added to a group other than the ones I mentioned that I'm going to be managing? Everybody else is okay? Okay, I remind everybody it is your responsibility to get yourself into a group. So if there's any, if anyone is not in a group, please make sure you let me know immediately. Now, I want to go and try to discuss any issues to do with the group, and I want to encourage people to be able to go and be cooperating together to get the right outcome. Now, I am aware of some problems and I'm actually working to go and manage those. So there's no need to go and mention the ones that I am already aware of, but I would like to go and ask, is there anybody here having any problem to do with any members not contributing, any issues, anything you believe I need to know about to be able to go and help you out? Is there anybody requiring any assistance to do with the group work? You know, a group not contributing, a group not responding, and I'm talking anything other than what I'm already aware of, and the one that I'm going to be initiating potentially some changes, which I'll email you later tonight. Is there anybody else having any problem that I need to go and be aware of? Alrighty, so I'll take this as there are no issues to go and report. I want to remind you the optimal number of people in the group is 3. The maximum people we can have in the group is 4. I've already have all of your details in the system. So if there's any changes you guys need, you make sure you engage with me, and I'll be very, very happy to go and try to support you and assist you. So we've already had a number of work that was due. So we know, for example, that your project charter was due on the 21st. You've already got all the feedback in relation to that and how you can go and improve. We know that you've actually submitted the scope and stakeholder register, which were due on Sunday. These will be now marked, and you'll be getting feedback like you got feedback for the project charter. And then at the same time, we're going to be having to go and be submitting on the 5th of the 12th. So we need to go and be submitting next week. We must be submitting the draft risk register, work record structure, and any project budget that is really related to that work. So we're going to starting to go and talk about creating more detailed work, creating more work record structures, more sort of detailed work to be able to go and show us that you can actually progress from planning a project to be able to go and thinking, how am I going to go and be implementing that project to be able to go and really deliver it in practice. Obviously, we're going to go and have the final project that is basically going to be due on the 12th of the 12th. So not basically the Sunday after. The whole work need to be submitted. So in the final project work, we expect you to go and be looking at all of these things that you've already submitted and we gave you feedback on. And we expect you to try to go and be making some improvements in terms of getting the work to be the best it could be. We want you to reach your full potential, and the only way you could reach your full potential is if you are going to go and be working in details on improving all of these stuff. We're basically going to go and tell you about in terms of our feedback. So please look at all of our feedback and try to think about what you can do to be able to go and improve your overall work. Groups are responsible to submit the working documents. I've been showing some clemency and my colleagues have been showing some clemency. For example, if someone submitted late for any reason, we've been trying to support you. We haven't been giving you penalties, but we need you to be able to remember this is about project management, and project management is about always submitting things on time. So it is very, very important that you guys start thinking about what am I going to go and do to be able to get all of my work submitted on a timely basis. This is really crucial to be able to go and get the outcomes to be delivered as required in the best quality that is required. If you don't submit, you will forgo all the 5 marks that are associated with the progress. There's obviously the charter. We've already marked it. All of you have basically submitted. There were some instances where I wasn't very satisfied with the work, and while we might have encouraged you in that and didn't deduct any marks, if we're going to go and continue having work that is not meeting the quality, marks are going to go and be deducted. So it's very important you focus on the quality of the work that is basically being produced. We want to see a decent attempt to be able to go and get the work to go and be produced. So focus on the quality and getting that quality to be, very well demonstrated as part of your work. The final report will most likely have penalties applied. It's usually 5% penalty per day of late submission. So we really encourage you to be able to go and not submit the work late, start working early to be able to go and ensure we avoid that problem altogether. Now, I'll just take this opportunity to also say welcome to all of those many people who just joined me since I started the class tonight. Thank you very much for joining. We always appreciate you showing the engagement that is needed, and your attendance is very, very much appreciated. Does anybody have any question about what I've just covered in terms of the due dates and in terms about the progress documents and any information that I've just mentioned? Is there any questions you guys have?
Yes, I've got one.
Go on.
Actually, yeah. I think, I don't know if you mentioned already, but for the final project, when like we need to deliver in week 6, I think 6, yeah. So it's like a Word document that contains all of the weeks that we already done, right?
It includes everything that we've done between weeks 1 and between tab 1 and tab 3, but there's also more work. So you might actually do other stuff. And we mentioned about some of the things that you could be producing. We mentioned a network diagram. We mentioned, per chart analysis. There's any other extra things you might want to go and produce for the work, which is basically beyond simply the minimum. So the minimum is good, but we don't simply suggest you stick to the minimum. We always stick that you actually do more than the minimum, because that's going to go and reflect positively in terms of the mark you will be getting.
Yeah, but my question is like, how is, because we already submitted on 13, and then when we put all the work together again, how is the plagiarism be? Because it's gonna be
there won't be an
right?
issue. That's why I've always tell you have the same person to be able to go and be submitting the work, the same group leader. As long as you're basically following all of this information that I'm telling you, you won't have any issue to do with similarity.
Okay.
And even if there's any similarity, we'll be able to go and see the reason for that similarity, and we'll be able to go and make the judgment accordingly on whether this is really a similarity issue or whether it's not.
Okay, and then, sorry, another question.
Of course.
Do we need to actually create anything on WordPress from now or
WordPress? What do you want to create it? Like, are you talking about the typical actual implementation of the project? Is that your question?
Yeah. So
no,
is that needed?
No,
or
you're not
just
actually
the written.
You're not implementing the project at this point of time. You'll be implementing project in other sort of subjects, such as Capstone 1, Capstone 2, but you're not implementing. You're basically just simply planning how the delivery could be done using both agile and traditional project management. So you're not actually implementing the work here.
Okay, so it's gonna be basically written work,
Written, like... but the focus is not simply on written. It's about really on producing all of these various deliverables that basically show us, how to produce project management. So it's not simply about written. It's also about all of these, deliverables that are related that we would like to go and actually see.
That's what I mean. But not creating anything, like develop anything. Okay.
No.
Cool. Thank you. That's all.
Anybody else? I always welcome your questions, and any question is always appreciated. So any other questions? Every question is valuable. Anyone? Or
Actually, I have a question, sir. I'm not sure if
Mauricio.
already.
Tell me, Mauricio.
Yeah, but I wonder if we have to submit the assignment with the Excel files as well, or can we just add the photo of the, for example, the risk register we created in Excel? Do we have? Can we add just a photo in the attach the photo in the work, or do you also need the Excel file?
One single file with all the information within.
Okay, perfect.
So Excel, non-Excel, PowerPoint, project, whatever it is, everything goes into that one single Word document that you go and submit. But I always say, do not forget the cover page, which it seems to me some of you have actually missed in the first submission that you've done to me. I haven't deducted any marks, but I expect that you'll be submitting and using this cover sheet in every submission you'll be making going forward.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mauricio. Any other questions?
Sorry, it's Juliana again.
Juliana!
I've got another one.
Let's go.
I'm just about the work breakdown structure, because it says there like graphical and bar tabular form. So we've done already a flow chart that shows like the process. But my question is, we also need to create a Gantt chart, or is one or another, or like we need to do both?
Depending on the tool you're using, the Gantt chart would usually be automatically created to you by the system. If you're using particular applications like Microsoft Project, then you can incorporate that. Depending on the other system, if you're not using Microsoft Project and you're using a manual system, then it would be worthwhile and recommended if you were to go and basically to kind of draw a Gantt chart and include that as part of the extra work you've done for that particular assignment.
Like plus with the flow chart, yeah, like that we created.
So you can create the flow chart, you can create the Gantt chart, whatever you believe you can create, and and you believe it's further to the minimum things that you need to do, then definitely anything you create will be very helpful.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. Anyone else? All right, continuing, guys. Obviously, you know that there's scope, a stakeholder register, work record structure, risk register, budget. So you know these things that we want to go and do. But there are PMP, including any extras and any group activity work that you basically go and include are worth 7 marks. And when we say about the extra, this is really relating to your question, Juliana. Gantt chart, cost analysis, network diagrams, whatever extra things you go and do, you'd basically be able to go and get that as part of the mark that you basically are producing and the benefits you can get. So just bear that in mind as there will be further benefits that are available. All materials are available. We've covered many of them throughout weeks 2 and week 3. So just wanted to let you know that, but further materials will be covered today. So just if there's anything you still believe you need and you're missing something, you just need to go and ask us, and we'll be very happy to go and give you that information. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and try to review a number of previous assessments that were done in the past. And we're going to go and remind you very clearly that those assignments are not really related to something you need to go and do. It's basically related to previous assignments. So it's not really anything you can go and copy and pasting. It's not about that. If you do any copying and pasting, sadly, you will actually receive no marks at all for your work. So it's very, very important you consider the importance of doing all the work yourself. No work that is copied will basically attract a mark. So please make sure only your work and nothing other than your work. You can ask questions.
Sorry, quick question.
Yep.
It's but we can, I think we can take the ideas and things from articles and things like that and put in the reference, right?
Any work you go and take, any information you take, it doesn't matter the location, doesn't matter from where, it needs to go and be referenced. And any information you take is not about copying and pasting. It's always about basically using your own, adjusted wording to be able to go and present any particular information.
Yes. I mean, just the ideas, when they talk about risk management, they talk about few ideas, which we can, like, if we can stimulate to our project, then I think it's valid, right?
Yeah, definitely. If it's relevant to the project and the ideas are relevant and you include them, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as it's no copying, no pasting, there's nothing wrong from that perspective.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Bipin, thank you very much, my friend. Anybody else have any questions? Alrighty, so I'm going to basically start by reviewing questions. I remind you that any academic misconduct does result in a fail result, and we don't want anybody to fail. So please make sure that you're not engaging in any copying and pasting at any point of time. You can ask any questions. The way that I always like to go and get things reviewed is I like to go and get you to go and evaluate any particular submission. So I will basically give you that chance. So if we go to the Moodle site of ICT204, if we go under week 5 resources, if we go a bit down, you are able to go and really find examples from various tutorials. So I'm going to start with every one of those examples, and let's start basically going and analyzing them. Let's start with the first question, first example at least. Let me show you that. All right, guys. So what's the first right things that is done in this assignment? What's the first thing you see that is correct? Anyone? What's the first correct thing you see? They basically have a cover page that is that is KOI's cover page. It's already there. You can see it. So that's the first thing they've done correctly. Okay. Is there anything wrong here? Can you see anything wrong? Anyone?
I think we can make the table of content more organized.
Yeah, what can we do? What sort of things can we
Like
do?
the heading,
table of
like
contents.
inside project charter, there is required description, and inside required description, there is goal and objective. So we can arrange that thing.
So maybe you could change the structure.
Let's say one is a.
But let's look at this. Is this in the right place?
No.
Where should this be?
Before table of contents.
It should be before the table of content by itself. Okay, then you have a table of content. And then I'm looking at this table of content. I'm saying, well, why isn't the table of content at least numbered? I like it to be numbered. There's no numbering at all. Okay, so think about what can we do in terms of numbering, which will be very, very beneficial. Executive summary, you can go and search how you write an executive summary. I'm not going to comment on the content. You probably have written them before, but basically short executive summary. There's an introduction. What are the 2 things we put in an introduction? There are 2 things I put in an introduction. What are they? Anyone? The first thing you do in the introduction is you put a background, and then after the background, you basically have another paragraph which says this report will discuss. And you basically mention the things that report are going to go and really be discussed. So these are the 2 main things you'll be covering in that particular example that we need to go and really bear in mind. So this report, the introduction, background, and then what this report is going to go and be covering. I'm not going to comment much about the project charter and the scope documents because obviously there's a format that has been presented on the system on Moodle, and many of the other tutorial might be using that format. I'm not going to comment too much about the content itself, but I've also told my group about the format that is recommended. But basically, we need to have the project charter. This is nicely professionally presented. I like that. Sometimes I got some charters which are only words and not very well presented. So I always say, just make sure your work is very well presented. That's really going to be very beneficial. And you think about the project scope. Again, we need to have a scope. Again, a presentation needs to be good. You see how they're using bullet points, things like that. I like it. It's really professional, and that's good. Various headings, bullet points, that's very good. So that's the sort of things you need to go and bear in mind. Then they're using the work break and structure. Okay, guys, what is a work break and structure? What do we put in a work break and structure? Mauricio.
Yes, sir. I think Juliana can answer better this question because we divided a few tasks in our group, and then she was in charge of for the work breakdown structure.
No problem, Mauricio.
But I can answer the risk register though.
No worries, my friend. No worries.
Basically, break the process of the project in parts, in smaller parts, like how they're going to be.
Okay.
Yeah, how they're gonna be done, and in which stages they are gonna be done.
Okay, great, that's fine. So let me ask you a question. Is this headings in the right place?
What's the heading? I can't read it. Okay.
This heading.
Planning, project management. No.
Why it's not there? Why is this in the wrong place?
I think because they should like having headings like planning, like when initiate the project, and then planning, and then the execution, and then the conclusion. But then
so if
these flow charts a bit mixed.
First of all, this is high level, not detailed. This is not even a detailed work breakdown structure, because when you talk about planning, there are so many steps involved with planning. What are they? Nothing is mentioned here. Plus, you basically use planning, use project management, development, installation, testing, and completion. Okay, did you mean to put initiation maybe? Because all of these planning, development, installation, testing, completion, they're all related to project management.
And how many topics do you think it's enough, or it's a good amount for example, when initiate the project? Or
a good work breakdown structure is one that basically indicate the tasks that needs to be done. Because then when you have the task that needs to go and be done, you can assign each task to someone, and you can assign a start time and end time for it. Then you know how much it's going to cost you. If you don't put the task, if you simply put knowledge of project requirements, what does that mean? What is the task? Who's going to do the task? How long it's going to take them? How many people are going to work? How much you're paying each person? There's no details. You can't create a plan and a budget if you don't have a detailed work breakdown structure. Does that make sense?
Because I've seen some examples in the internet, and then they have like a flow chart similar to this one, but the headings are in the right place, but they don't really show, for example, I've seen, like, for example, the planning phase. They're gonna analyze the data, and then they're gonna define the team roles, and then topics like that, but no names for who is gonna do that yet.
Exactly. The reason why is because a work breakdown structure lists the tasks. Then the next step comes, and the next step is where you start assigning people to tasks. You start putting the start time and end time of tasks,
That's
And because you know who's doing the job and how much they get paid, this is when you get the plan and you get your budget. So the work breakdown structure is a foundation. Once you start assigning to it start time and end time of tasks and the people will doing it, then you start getting the budget and the extra.
but for example, if I do only the flow chart, and then not assigning who is gonna do, for example, I put like planning, analyze the data first. That's one task. But I haven't put, for example, who is gonna do the analysis of the data and
That's
when
fine.
it's gonna be done. But then I was thinking about do the Gantt chart, and then the Gantt chart is gonna show when and I don't know, maybe who is gonna do it.
If that's how you want to do it, and then you want to link the Gantt chart to the budget, that's fine with me. But there's nothing preventing you from using that data from the work breakdown structure and moving it to the next step and start assigning people to it and start time and end time and get moved from a work breakdown structure to have a budget and plan straight away. So there's more than one approach, but initially the bottom line is the work breakdown structure is your start. And then once you start assigning people to tasks and the start time and end times, you know how much things are going to go cost you.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but I'm still a bit confused. But like, where do I assign these people in the flow chart, or like I create a dictionary?
And that's what I'm telling you. You can do it in the flow chart if you want to. Okay, but that's not going to be the work breakdown structure chart. I'm talking about the actual Gantt chart. Okay, so if you want to present the data in the Gantt chart, you can. If you want to present the data in the in the chart like this, you can. But also, I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to show you one step further, which is relevant, which is what I always show my students. Let me just get that open. Okay, so a lot of people do this, and then they basically go and create a the end result, the sub result. They start talking about the number of tasks, and all of this is what? All of this relate to the work breakdown structure. But then they will go and they will add to the work breakdown structure. They'll start adding details. So they'll start adding details like this. So initially it will have nothing. This data will be missing. This data will be missing. They'll only will say, what is needed. But then what they do when they want to start moving to have a budget, then they move one step further from the work breakdown structure, which they present. And then they start adding things like, okay, this interview employees and clients. I'll need a project manager. The project manager takes, say, $100, a day. Then I need them for 10 days. Then there's going to basically be a cost for that task of $1,000. So based on that, you start using the schedule. When is it going to start? When is it going to end? And you start assigning a budget. So some people do it this way, and some people go and decide they want to do it differently. But everything starts with the work breakdown structure.
Okay, I think I got it now. So I can leave the flow chart as it is, and then I can assign the people and the days and how much they're gonna be paid on the budget. Yeah. Correct.
And showing start time and end time.
Okay, that's correct. Thank you.
No worries. Anyone else unclear on this or any questions on this? Alrighty, let's move on then with some people reviewing. So obviously I need a very detailed work breakdown structure. This is not even close to detailed because design doesn't tell me what are the activities needed to make a design. Coding doesn't tell me what is going to be done. So coding is high level. You need to know the details and the tasks that are people going to go and be doing. Work breakdown structure dictionary explains what these tasks mean. That's a good thing. That could be one of the extra things you guys might be deciding you would like to go and do in your work. And if you want to do that, that's fine with me, no issue at all. All of this dictionary, nothing else, just describing them. Project scheduling. You see here what I'm telling you? Juliana, can you relate? Can you relate the work breakdown structure? This is a work breakdown structure. And can you relate how we know we're assigning start dates and end dates? And we're assigning people. We can start getting a budget. We can start seeing what starts when. We're putting predecessor, what starts first, what starts after. This is where you start getting things like that. Do you know what that means? This person in red means?
No.
This person in red means these people, specifically the project team and the supply manager and the IT manager and the IT expert and the web developer, they are over assigned. They're expected to be working over 8 hours a day, which is not realistic. So that information here is not very realistic. It needs to be properly rectified for the information to be appropriate. Let's move on. They're providing timelines. All right, that's fine. Network sequencing, that's one extra thing we might be able to be doing. But this is a very, very poor way of showing network sequencing. I don't like it very much because it's all over the shop. Then, you know, this is really explaining what the people have done. Okay, that's fine, no problem. Project budget. Again, these people are over assigned, these people in red. But there is a better way to show the budget. This is good to show me how much each person will get paid. But then we showed you a summary. We showed you a summary sheet you can actually present. We showed you that in last week, I think, or the week before. There's a budget sheet. You can create a summary after you basically create a detailed work breakdown structure. So that's something to bear in mind. How do you want to go and present your budget? Here, it's nice. They're kind of using some sort of, you know, paragraph, some sort of, you know, graphs, which is great. Nice to see. Group activity, it's nice to see, but I want to remind everybody that what I would like to go and see, or at least what I recommend to see in a group activity, is I recommend we see something like, let me try to show you if there's, this is a sort of budget I told you earlier, you know, I was mentioning, you can, let me show you the budget. So that's a budget that I was kind of mentioning. We can, you know, we showed you the format of it. You can try to create sort of details and, you know, show a budget summary. That would be a good thing. But there's one thing that I'm really interested in seeing, which is a percentage contribution of people. This one like this. You see here, you put your name member, maybe you add an extra column here. Maybe I will insert a column to the right and say, all right, contribution. Or explanation, where you guys will be explaining what each person have actually went and did. It will be really, really important to be able to go and talk about that explanation and put that details, because we need to know what people have done at any point of time and try to get the right outcome. Without having all of that details, we'll basically be having some issues. So please make sure you put the details in a table to show me exactly what each person went and have actually contributed. So it's good as a summary, but you know, the percentage contribution will be very relevant. You could do everything in one table. You could use bullet points and that would be okay. One thing, conclusion, closing the project, but I expect to see many more references in this, but at least also I expect to see in ensuring that the format of the referencing you are going to be following will be an appropriate format, not the wrong format. A correct format of referencing needs to go and be incorporated. Any questions about this first assignment? Alrighty, let me go and then open the second example now. So my second example is really, again, available from the Moodle side. So let me open that to show you example number 2. Alrighty, and I recommend, you know, you look and you find the best out of all of these and you decide what you want to go and incorporate in your work. Like you decide what is the best for all of them. So that's the first thing. They've done a cover page. That's great. That's the sort of things I would like to go and see. What's wrong here, guys, again?
Missing summary, executive summary.
No executive summary. What else?
Introduction.
Hey?
Yeah, no introduction showing.
No introduction, no numbering. It's basically some sort of mishy-mashy data. But then you go and see they start straight away with a chart. Okay, maybe the structure kind of looks good and everything, but you have actually missed key components, like the introduction for your report. That's a key component that is missing. You think about other stuff, constraint dependency. As I said, I'm not commenting on the format we gave you. There are various formats we gave you, so we're not going to comment on that. But you go and see again, this is too long for me. I think the project charter, but then there's a scope statement. Again, we talk about the scope. You can see some information about the scope. Again, I don't like the structure of the scope very much. I think could have been better presented, maybe table or something like this, but the format of it doesn't look really that great in comparison to the charter. Stakeholder register, that's something we haven't seen in the other report. Do you recommend we need a stakeholder register, yes or no? Do we need a stakeholder register? Yes,
Yes,
no?
we do, yes.
Definitely. But do we need half of it to be cut on the side?
No.
Half of it is missing. Half of the information is missing. You see here how they've done a work breakdown structure, tabular format. You can see how they're trying to put tasks. Can you see?
Yes,
Can you
yes.
assign
Mhm.
someone to, I don't know, gather manpower? Can you assign a person to do it? Can you assign a person to gather manpower?
Yeah, human resource manager.
Yeah, you can. Can you assign people to interview stakeholders?
Yes.
All right, so you can actually assign people. You want to basically have tasks that could be assigned to people because you move from a work breakdown structure, you put the start time and end time of tasks, and we'll be able to have many, many more information at that point of time. Scheduling Gantt chart, they're trying to put start time and end time and duration. So you can see how they're trying to link these items here. They're trying to link this to start time and end time. But what is the problem is they haven't really put every single task. They put some of them, but what about the other tasks? So when you want to make a project task, you need to know the start date and end date of all of them and duration for all of them, not only some of them. They tried to create a Gantt chart like that. That's good, but you can't see which activity must finish before the other one starts. For example, a charter needs to finish before you can create the scope. Okay, so finish to start relationship is not showing here, it's missing. So you need to really look at these activities. Now, WBS design, let me go and see here. Can you guys see anything called WBS design here? I personally can't. It's not here. There's no WBS design. And if that's the case, meaning something is missing, means the tasks and the Gantt chart, they don't link up, they don't relate to one another, and they must relate to one another. So you must really be looking at all of these activities in details. You must really be looking at that when you're putting the right information. You look at the risk register here. Now the other one had colors. You could see which one is high and which one is low. This one has more information. So I want more information, but I also want more colors, and I would like to go and clarify what is a high priority and what is a low priority. So we need to basically go and try to think about the right details and putting that information the way it should be done. But in summary, guys, it's more information risk register here. That's good, but it could be made even better. The question from Sapana is, do we need to make a Gantt chart or not? I do recommend you kind of look at what we've covered earlier, Sapana. So if I go back to here, you notice that there are many things you can do extra, such as a Gantt chart. So the answer to your question is, it is recommended you do extra than the basic requirements to be able to maximize how much marks do you go and actually get. We go down, you see the budget summary. Now that budget, if I go to look here, so let's say they say project manager, we need 50 days, $700 per day. Okay. If I bring you up to the work breakdown structure, if I bring you up here, or if I bring you up here, can you see any details that shows you there are 50 hours of project management. Can you see anything here? Is there anything in the Gantt chart or the work breakdown structure that is showing you the project management hours that we need to go and be using? Is there anything at all showing you that? Can you see it anyway? Juliana? Julia?
Yes,
Anish?
no.
It's
No.
not there. It's not anyway. So where, and that's what I'm going to basically be checking. I'm going to say, okay, you gave me this. Where is it from? I can't see it in the work breakdown structure. I can't see it in your research. I can't see it in your planning. I can't see it in your budget. Well, I'm going to say, well, this is something not clear. How did you get this budget if it's not even mentioned in the schedule? There's something not right about it. And I basically don't, I don't think it's right. I think something is missing there. And I straight away won't like that information. 7 days of training. Okay, great. All of these things. Well, yeah, you give me info, but I can't really relate it to your work breakdown structure. That's a very major problem in project management. Contribution, it's great. It could be done better. We could have much more details. And definitely you could have showed me percentage of contribution per person. So it's something I really recommend you do. Finally, conclusion. And again, what's a bigger, major thing that is missing?
Reference.
References. Not even one reference. Where is that from? Something is missing. Something is not right. We need to really go and know what is really happening there. Any question on this second assignment? Am I detailed enough? Do you guys understand in details what we're expecting?
How much max did they get, sir?
I really don't know. I can't tell you. And I really don't know.
So
But,
how much would you give?
average. I'll give it probably, if it's over 20, I'll probably give it 13 or 14 max. And that's being generous. That's actually, I think 13 is too much. I think maybe 12 or 13. Alrighty? Any other questions on that? Alrighty, I'm going to move on to a third example that is really presented for us from a previous case. Let me show you. And I remind you all, I'm just kind of thinking about maximizing your potential. So I will always try to maximize your potential to help you to be the best you can be. That's my job, to basically guide you and support you to be the best you can be. So let's look at the third one. What's wrong with this third assignment? What's the first thing you see that is wrong?
Cover page.
There's no cover page. What's the second thing that is wrong?
Table of
There is no
content
table of
could be, shouldn't be on a
No.
single page.
No executive summary. And straight away, the table of content is basically showing in various info. Is this a good table of content?
Not at all.
Why it's not a good table of content? What do you think? Why it's not a very good
It's
one?
numbered, but it's just messy for my eyes. And I think probably will be
It is-
messy for the teacher's eyes as well.
It is messy for your
And
eyes,
it's
but
in a table, like it doesn't, I think shouldn't be in a table.
okay.
It's literally a table.
Okay, well, it is literally a table, and the issue that I see in that is the fact that that table is actually not an automated table of content. When you don't produce an automated table of content, it does actually mean that the information, if you change any information in the report, it's going to have to go and change everything else manually rather than automatically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You can't have anything manual. You have to have an automatic table of content, because otherwise it's going to take a lot of extra work from you. Now, let's go and start thinking about the details. The project charter, well, maybe they could have used some tables to make it look better, but at least they covered a lot of stuff. The business benefit project approach, they've done a lot of stuff. Project scope, in scope and out of scope, okay. I'm not going to cover really like whether the structure is right or wrong, because there's different structures and we've discussed it. And we showed you previously in your class, and you just showed you which structure they recommend. But we then have the project deliverables, all of these. Like, this is a very, very long project charter. Very, very long. And we haven't even started with the project. Then there's a team contract. This is a good thing. A team contract, which is basically says how we should be performing, how we should be acting, what is accepted behavior, what is not accepted behavior. So that's a good thing we can go and include there. Project scope, it's starting on the wrong page. Why doesn't it start on the right page? Again, I think the structure, you could have had a table or better presenting information. But you see here, they're talking about scope, and earlier they also spoke about scope. So I'm thinking, why am I having scope in the charter and the scope in the scope document? It seems to me to be a double up there. Stakeholder register. Okay, they tell you about needs, wants, and concern. But one thing they don't tell you, how are we going to manage each of them? So yes, I know what is their need. I know what are their concern. One extra tab, how are we going to go and be managing them ourselves? That's one thing we need to go and really talk about. Scheduling. Okay, great. They're trying to make some research, right? They're trying to reference, but try to make more academic journals references if you can. And we definitely don't need all of that long, because remember, you have a word count. So we don't need you to kind of cite the whole theory and talk about it for like hours and hours. We want you to show us you know what you're talking about, and then focus on the work that needs to go and be completed. So it's very important you don't just simply spend your time focusing on the wrong thing, basically. Work break and structure. Again, you can see that they've talked about so many things, but requirements gathering, okay, requirements about hardware, software, develop project charter. So I need you to kind of think about a more detailed work break and structure, as I showed you earlier and spoke about. This is the tabular work break and structure that they've done. It's a bit fuzzy, but it's showing. But again, at least I need a much, and I repeat it, much more detailed work break and structure, because we want to be able to go and assign tasks to people. That is actually missing at this stage. They've done an extra thing like work break and structure dictionary, which is a positive thing. That's a good thing. They're explaining what they are. Per chart, this is more about analyzing the items that are hard, or that, the difficult to deliver items. They are risky items, and they're saying, okay, I'm going to go and try to plan how long those activities are going to be taking, using the potential PERT method. But they're trying to draw it mainly, and I will say you could draw things that look much better using a Gantt chart than putting an A, B, C, D, E, F, G for me like this. Like, I think it could be better presented here, but at least they're trying to kind of draw something and show me they've done extra work, which is something that is not bad. It's a positive thing. They try to do critical path analysis. Now, I'm not going to explain it further here today, but I encourage you to go and search what is a critical path research, and then try to see how can you go and really manage to be able to go and manage the activities that are on the path, because if any activity is on the critical path is delayed, it's going to go and impact when the project is going to go and be delivered. So it's something that really you should consider, because you can't delay any activity on the critical path. But all of these extra stuff, I don't think it's adding much value, to be honest with you. It wasn't really very well presented. I really don't recommend this. This is a good thing. Time estimation, start time, end time. We don't see assigned people, and because we don't see assigned people, we can't get a budget. But at the same time, I need to go and actually have a more detailed work break and structure. Risk register, okay, they're trying to put the owner, and they're not putting proper colors. But again, the risk register I showed you in the second assignment was a bit better than this one. It had more stuff. You need to think about the mitigation actions. You might think about someone in charge, and you might need to think about the status, and you definitely need to format it better to show that information. And think about using UK English, not US English. Finally, thinking about the cost estimation, which should be flowing on from here from the plan. If you assign the right people to it, you can then have a budget. You'll be able to go and get a proper budget. This is again fuzzy, not the best way to show. But again, project manager, team member, where is this from? I can't relate it to your plan. There's nothing here showing me that you're using a project manager. How do I relate your budget to your plan? You're not showing me that. That's a very major missing omission in that particular project. Going further, kickoff meeting. Okay, they're doing meeting minutes. I encourage you to do it and show me you've done meeting minutes in your work. That's a good thing. You could also show action items. What are we actually deciding to action after each meeting? That would be, again, a positive thing you are able to go and show. Project report, group activity report. I can't see people very easily what they've done. Table, bullet points, percentage contribution. I would like to go and see that. This is way too much of a big chunk of text. Say, here it is. Go and find it. Put it for me in a more decent manner that I can see the right information. They're putting lessons learned, and that's a very nice thing. What have we learned while we're doing that project? How can we do it better? That's a nice addition they've done. And they've done some references. Bear in mind that those references are not formatted in the correct manner. And bear in mind that you never put numbering in references. You always do alphabetical, but you always do the correct referencing format. So if you go to the Moodle site, it will show you which referencing format we're expecting people to go and follow. Any questions? Any questions, anybody? Alrighty, guys. So that's basically covering that particular question, which is about more, the assignment case. We've done through 3 of them. You can ask any questions you have now or even next week. It doesn't matter. Whenever you have a question, you can pause them to us. We'll be very, very happy to go and answer them for you. I'll just give you the last, attempt again. Any questions, anybody? I'll be happy to answer them.
So after, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
So after we deliver this week's project, like on Sunday,
Yep.
what do we need to do for next week? Because next week is week 6, so it's the week that we need to deliver the PMBOK project, right?
Correct. You need to do the whole thing. You need to do the whole project, merge everything together, address all the improvement that we recommended to you, and think about any extra things you are able to go and be doing in addition to the minimum stuff that we basically ask you to go and really do.
So the extras can be done next week, not this week. Like
nothing. Like you can start working on them if you want to, but they're not basically due till they're not due this week. So so the final work will be due in week 6, and that's when you can actually produce any extra work. You can actually go and submit it to the work.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we don't require cost analysis, network diagrams, or Gantt chart, but these are the extra things that you can do. We mentioned earlier. We require general report with an introduction, conclusion, table of content, charter, scope, schedule, Excel schedule with a template we recommended. Work break and structure would be great if you can do it graphical or tabular, which I've just explained today. Stakeholder registers, definitely risk register, project budget. There is a lot you can do, but I like to see the link between the budget, the schedule, and the work break and structure. If you're not doing and show me the link between these 3, then there's a big omission that I need to go and really bear in mind. Group activity report, we recommend you put your percentages so that you can see easily who did what, and obviously the table of contribution as I showed you. Make sure you tell me what each person have went and done at any point of time. Now, there's a quick video about what is earned value management. It is an important concept that we are going to go and be covering tonight that most likely a lot of time is actually in your final exam. So I really, really encourage you really listen to that earned value management video, because we're going to go and most definitely present it to you later. And if you don't know how to do the calculations for it, you basically would most likely lose marks in your final exam. So let's play the video now.
In this video, I want to answer the question, what is Earned Value Management, or EVM? Earned Value Management was developed by the United States Department of Defense in the 1960s to track the performance of its programs. And to this day, all government programs in the United States use Earned Value Management as their means of measuring and managing performance. So, what is earned value? Earned value is the authorized budgeted value of the work that you have successfully completed to date on your project. Now, I don't propose to try and give you a full account in under 5 minutes of how to carry out earned value analysis and all the measuring and monitoring procedures and the calculations and equations that are used by EVM practitioners. What I do want to do is to give you an idea of some of the principal concepts in earned value management and some of the primary measures that we use and some of the forecasts that earned value analysis can produce by manipulating the results of measurements using the equations of earned value management. There may be a range of views, but I would say that there are 4 primary measures that we use in earned value management. The first is budget at completion, and this represents the total budgeted cost of your project. The second primary measure is the budgeted cost of work scheduled, also known as the planned value. This is the budgeted cost of the work to be performed according to your plan, your schedule. So the planned value is calculated by taking the budget at completion and multiplying by the proportion that the planned work represents of the whole project. The budgeted cost of work performed is also known as the earned value. And this is the value, according to the budget, of all the tasks that have been completed up till now. So we can calculate the earned value by multiplying the budget at completion by the proportion of the total project work that is represented by the completed work to date. The final primary measure is the actual cost of work completed, or just the actual cost. This is a measure of the total money actually expended on the tasks that have been completed to date. Not the budgeted cost, but the actual cost. Therefore, the difference between the budgeted cost and the actual cost represents the cost performance. What earned value management is particularly good at doing is combining cost performance on the one hand and schedule performance on the other. It's very easy to take a project and decide whether you're running ahead or behind schedule. It's also relatively easy to take the same project to see whether you've spent more or less budget than you expected at this stage. What earned value management does is allow you to look at a project which is not on schedule and it's not on budget, and to look at what the performance is for both of them at the same time. It also allows us to produce forecasts, and there are a number of forecasts that earned value analysis can produce. These include cost forecasts. We can calculate the estimate to complete and the estimate at completion. we can calculate variances from the plan. We can calculate cost variances, schedule variances, and variance at completion. And finally, there are two principal performance measures that we can calculate. And these are CPI, or Cost Performance Index, and SPI, Scheduled Performance Index. So, earned value management is a tool that enables us to understand our performance, both in terms of cost and schedule at the same time, and to make calculations that will enable us to forecast how the project will perform if we continue as we are going now. If you like this video, hit the like button.
All right, guys. So we're going to disconnecting this. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, this is really the concept of earned value management. It's a very, very important concept that you really need to go and know about because, as I mentioned earlier, it is one that most likely will be in your exam. So it's something that we need to go make sure you guys are going to go and be, be clear on how you need to go and be doing in your exam if we're to go and give you that. So let's start discussing that particular topic in details. So first of all, we went through the 3 assignments. I'm not going to go through them again because we've already done it and we've actually done it into a lot of details. But as I mentioned earlier, I really want you to go and kind of talk about the group activity as individuals. I want you to comment on the stuff you've done. Not much, 1 to 2 pages at most. So that's why if you create that table format that I told you, and you can put your percentages, which I really recommend. You put, even if it's equally contribution, you basically will be able to go and show the information in terms of your contribution as individuals to the work. So please try to go and think about that and how you're going to be able to go and incorporate it in your work. We gave you feedback on the working documents. We are giving you feedback every week. I gave you feedback on the first document. So one thing that I've mentioned, if I was to comment on some of you things, some people did not really bother with the recommended structure that I gave them. Some did not even have the cover page, and some did not even go into the details that is really required. I want to remind you that we need to have a decent attempt. You can't just simply make any work if your work is not really a representative of a decent attempt of the work. You won't be granted the full mark. So you will only be given that mark if we can see that what you try to go and do is basically considered to be a decent work that we are actually happy with, and you demonstrated the sort of quality. In other words, the simple quality we are actually expecting to go and be producing in the work. So I really encourage you to really take into perspective what that means in practice. But definitely really looking at what are you going to be doing in your work to address all of that feedback, because we're giving you that feedback for a reason, and it is to actually go and ensure that when you're going to go and be submitting the final work, you are going to go and be incorporating all of that feedback as part of your final work. So please look in details about that information and what we're trying to go and really do at that point of time. I remind everybody, it is a student group's responsibility to function and share work. We will be looking at the group activity. If there's anyone who is not contributing to the work or not doing the job as expected, you guys have the ability to go and put a lower contribution of that person. And that contribution will have a direct impact on the mark that a person will get. For example, a person who will get 100% because they contributed fully, and another person who only contributed 50% of the work, although the first person got 100 over 100, the second person will only get a 50 over 100. So your mark is directly related to how you have actually contributed and how you've worked as part of your project to get the job done. So please bear that in mind that you must actually go and be doing things in the details required to be able to get the right outcome that you are expecting. Feel free to share in the tutorial if there's any problem and any issue, so that other members can hear your perspective and we can provide a resolution if needed. A number of a couple of groups, we know there is an issue, and I will be emailing you straight after well, not directly straight, it's either tonight or tomorrow. I'll be emailing you about what is going to go and be happening in terms of dealing with that particular issue. And there will be some, amendments to the group allocation that we need to go and bear in mind. It takes time for groups to perform well, and that's why people who will be working together in the group in the first assignment will be working again together in the same assignment, second assignment, because otherwise we're gonna basically put you a lot behind in terms of your preparation. We don't wanna do that. We don't wanna have any problem that will slow your progress. We wanna support you to help you get the best outcome at any point of time. There's gonna be a number of questions we would like to go and be answering today. Anybody could tell me what is project cost management, guys? Anyone? Anybody could go and say, what is cost management? What do you think cost management is?
It's like a process where you can manage the cost and the budget of the project. Like how you're going to manage the budget that was given.
Yep, that's fine.
To do the project, like to deliver with quality.
That's correct.
And everything.
There are all of these tasks. Can you think about what those tasks really are? What are they? Can you think about what those tasks are?
Tasks, for example, like doing the budget. We're talking about this, like.
Yeah, there are a number of tasks associated with project cost management. Can you think what are those tasks? There are really, we call them process tasks.
Initiation, execution, all that stuff.
It's like doing for example, like doing the budget that we are doing. So you're gonna set amount of like out of the budget for each team member and each department. Is that it?
That is really on the right track. But if I was to go and kind of say there are a number of things to kind of bear in mind, they're basically very, very particular steps. So if I go on and say, I would say about things such as, planning, planning for cost management, for example, is one of them. If you go and think about, another one, I would say, what is the other one? I would say estimating the costing, determining the budget, and controlling all of my costs. So when I talk about all of these planning cost management, I'm basically trying to think, how am I going to go and plan my costs within the organization? How I'm going to go and really deal with all of this, issue at that time. If I go and talk about estimating costs, it's about developing an approximation or an estimate of the cost of the resources needed to complete the project. Determining the budget, it's about allocating a budget for a budget baseline, and you would say, I want a budget for this month, for the first month, second month, third month. So you basically create a budget for various periods. And finally, you need to be controlling all of your costing, because you need to go and try to monitor your budget to your actual costing at any point of time. So the first thing it starts with, let me plan how much something is going to go and cost me. The planning, how I'm going to go and manage the cost, and then I will go and estimate the cost, and then from there I'll get my budget, and then I'll start monitoring and controlling things to see, are there any deviation from my actual cost at any point of time. The truth is that projects often have 27% cost overruns, and many projects even have a much higher overrun. Some of them are over 300% overruns. This basically tells you the importance of having good management of costs within the organization, because if you're not managing your project costs appropriately, you could actually have a very, very severe negative impact on your organization. That's something very important that you need to go and really be managing. Any questions on that point? Okay, let's go to the next question. So the question is, what are the different types of costs an IT project faces? Briefly explain with a relevant example. So my question to you here, what sort of costing can you kind of think about in IT? Is every cost a detailed cost? Do we have non-detailed costs? Do we have, what sort of costing do we have? What do you think? Anybody?
Cost with
Something to-
development,
What's that?
cost with development, or
Yeah, software development costing, and that's a
It's like-
costing when you are doing the actual work itself.
Yeah,
So when
be
you're
like-
talking about that costing, we're talking about definitive costing. Like it's basically later when we start the project, less than a year out from the project, we start kind of planning exactly the sort of definitive costing, because we're actually doing the work. Any other costs you can think about? I'm going to relate it to the slide that I showed you earlier. Can you see the slide?
all the like direct costs that's gonna be direct, I don't know, used in the project, for example, like contracting,
All of this is
things
direct
for
cost.
license, yeah, and
Yeah,
then
all of
indirect
else?
as well. I don't know, indirect would be maybe like the amount of I don't know, electricity involved in the office or something like that. I don't know.
No worries. Look, that's all relevant. That's correct. This is basically talking about direct and indirect costs. So that is all very, very correct. But one thing I want you to go and really bear in mind is the fact that there is a budget cost that I mentioned earlier. Like you can see on the slide, I'm showing you the budget cost that is also relevant at that time. So we have things like a definitive cost where you're talking about correctly direct costs and indirect costs, for example. There are tangible costs and intangible costs, things you can actually touch and things you can't touch. There are costs that are only for the budget. So when I'm creating the budget, it's really done 1 to 2 years out of the project, so that we can have the budget really set on the side. And because it's 1 to 2 years out of the project, it's basically there are more chances for inaccuracies in that. When I talk about, kind of rough order of magnitude, it's more long time sort of planning. It's basically 3 to 5 years before we even implement that project or complete that project. This is where we because it's very, very far off from the project completion, because we're not sure about how the technology might change, what might evolving, the calculation would most likely be very, very wrong. So we won't have a lot of information about what is the right cost and what is the wrong cost. But you think about that tangible cost, the cost that an organization can easily measure in dollars, such as this is going to cost me $10,000. But when I talk about intangible costs, we're going to have poor customer satisfaction. This is intangible. I don't measure it. It's not really talking in numbers. I want to have, both tangible costing and intangible costing, both of which are important, and we need to go and really bear in mind, and we need to go and manage. So we're having direct costs, you're right, direct costs associated with doing the activities. We're having indirect costs. For example, cost of having a project manager. The project manager is not working on an activity, but is still very much essential to be able to go and ensure a project is going to go and get completed. So that's what we call in terms of direct and indirect costs that is really available. I talk about, sunk-in costs, which is the cost we're spending in the past when deciding whether we are going to be investing in a project or whether we're not going to make that investment. That's another thing we need to go and bear in mind, and we need to manage. So you can see all of these costing, you'll put them in a budget summary, which is something you need to be doing for your assignment yourself. But Obviously, there will be various type of costing you need to be thinking about. There's other things we need to go and really bear in mind, such as any reserve costs. Sometimes we basically might go and include any extra costing we need to go and bear in mind, and we need to have that needs to also go and really be managed. So, something we can really go and think about and bear in mind any extra costing that you would like to go and put on the side in case something does not work according to plan. And many projects usually have an extra reserve just in case things don't go well according to plan. Explaining earned value management. I showed you the video earlier about earned value management and described the relationship between earned value management and work break and structure. Now guys, earned value management is more about, let me go and measure how my project is really performing. Is it on time? Is it not on time? Am I on budget? Am I not on budget? Am I on schedule? Am I off schedule? So I need to be able to go and really compare after I plan my whole work break and structure, after I assign people to it, after I assign start time and end time, after I assign a budget, that point of time, after I have everything planned, the schedule is clear, the budget is clear, I then ask that question, all right, guys, what do we do now? We need to go and try to track whether the project that I planned, whether the budget that I've put, whether all of these are going to basically be correct in comparison to what I've actually went and what I've planned at that point of time. So we need to measure things. And the main things we measure are what we call cost variance and schedule variance, and CPI and SPI. Now, cost variance and CPI are two measures that are directly related to whether we are on budget, under budget, or over budget. Schedule variance and SPI, on the other hand, focus on something else. Schedule variance and SPI focus on how the project is basically performing from a schedule perspective. Am I on schedule, ahead of schedule, or behind schedule? Now, the way we calculate it is different, but the summary of what is being calculated is the same. Schedule variance and SPI calculate the schedule comparison. CV and CPI calculate the cost comparison. Estimated at completion is an estimation of how much the project is going to go and cost when it is going to go and be completed. So we're estimating really after we start working on a project how much something is going to go and be costing. Now, what I would like from all of you now, I would like you to go and take those figures, write them down in front of you now, please. Just write those figures now. Planned value, $22,000, earned value, $20,000, actual cost, $25,000, budget at completion, $120,000. Just write them down on a paper so that you can see how these basically work now in practice. Now, let me explain what these actually mean. Planned value is how much work I was scheduled or I was planned to complete by a particular point of time. So in this example, we're talking about a planned value. By this point of time now, I was scheduled to complete $22,000 worth of work. Earned value is how much actual work I have actually earned as of today. I earned $20,000 worth of work. Okay, great. So if I earn 20,000, but I plan to earn 22,000, did I earn more than what I needed to actually earn or less than what I needed to go and earn? What do you think? If I earned 20 and I was planned to earn 22,000, did I earn less or more than what I need to?
Less.
I earned less. And because I've earned less than what I'm actually expected to earn, it means I am actually behind schedule, because your earned value gets compared to your planned value. So earned value, which is one formula, earned value minus planned value. Can you tell me what is earned value minus planned value? What's the value that I'm going to get?
Minus 2,000.
Minus 2,000. That's mean I am behind schedule. The minus is telling me I am behind schedule. Okay. Now, the second question, I earned $20,000, but you see, now I've already compared my earned value to my plan, which give me the schedule comparison. Now I want to compare my earned value to my actual cost. So it's comparing to cost. So now I am comparing my budget. Am I over budget or under budget? So do you mean earned value minus actual cost? What do you get?
-5, so you're over budget. Yeah,
I
you
am
spent
over
more.
budget. Exactly. I earned 20, but to earn that 20, I pay 25. So straight away, you know what? Well, 20 minus 25, that's minus 5,000. I am actually behind budget. I am over budget. Is that simple? Is that clear?
Yes. Mhm.
So what is the cost variance and what is the cost performance index and what is the schedule variance? Now we calculated cost variance, which is earned value minus actual cost. We calculate schedule variance, which is earned value minus planned value. There is one more thing we can do to calculate my cost comparison, which is earned value. Instead of earned value minus planned value, it's earned value divided by planned value. So if I tell you earned value divided by planned value, what do you get? What's the number you would get? Earned value divided by planned value. What number you get? Earned value divided by planned value. Anyone? Anybody calculated it? 20,000 divided by 22,000 equal 0.90. 0.90 is what we call the schedule performance index, which is earned value divided by planned value. So schedule performance index is 0.90. We already said that we are spending more, we are earning less than what we are planned. So you told me earlier, we are behind schedule. And this SPI, which is earned value divided by planned value, is telling me the same thing. 20 divided by 22 equals 0.9, which means for every dollar that I'm spending, I'm only getting $0.9 worth of schedule work completed. So for the dollar that I was planned to complete, I'm actually completing only 0.9% out of my schedule. So to calculate these things, that cost variance, schedule variance, and so on, well, cost variance equal earned value minus actual cost. So you can see 20 minus 25 equal -5, and schedule variance equal 20 minus 22, which is -2. So it basically means I am behind schedule, I am over budget. When I do the same thing, but instead of putting earned value minus actual cost, I do earned value divided by actual cost, I get what is called as cost performance index, which is 80% or 0.8. What that means, for every dollar I'm spending, I'm only getting $0.8 worth. Like for the budget, I was planned to get $1 worth of work, but the CPI means I'm only getting $0.8 worth of the budget spent achieving the work for me. So instead of getting $1 when I'm spending that money, I'm getting only $0.8 from my cost. So for every dollar I'm spending, from a cost perspective, instead of earning $1, I'm getting only 0.8 really being delivered to me. And from a schedule perspective, instead of actually earning $1, I'm only getting 0.91 out of my schedule completed instead of getting $1 the full schedule that is planned to go and really be completed. So this and this are really telling us the same thing. We are over budget, but this is really telling us how much are we over budget. Well, it's telling me here, my cost variance means instead of earning $1, I earn 0.8. And when I go and compare schedule to schedule performance index, it's again telling me the same thing. I am over, I am basically, behind schedule, but it's telling me by how much I am behind schedule, where it's saying for every dollar of schedule, instead of completing $1 worth of schedule, we're getting only 0.91 or 91% worth of schedule completed. Does that make sense? Any questions? Something like this is very likely to be in your exam, and that's why you need to know those formulas and you need to be able to go and know what they mean and how you're going to go and assess them if they were to come in your exam. Any questions at all? All right. The rest is how is the project doing? We've already said it, I've already mentioned it. The project is over budget because CPI is under 100%. It means the project is not doing as expected. We know that straight away. We are under, and we are for the cost performance index 80%. So it is under. So instead of earning for every dollar a dollar, we're earning less. So we know straight away we are over budget from that perspective. And at the same time, it's saying use CPI to calculate the estimated at completion of the project. So estimated at completion means how much is the project going to go and cost me when it's going to go and be completed. Now, again, this is another formula you need to go and really know. The formula is, I'm going to put it for you now here. I want you to look and I want you to tell me what it is. So this is the formula. I already know, we already know from earlier, we know what CPI is. So it's basically 0.8 or 80%. And we know from the beginning what is the budgeted at completion, which is $120,000. So using the formula that I give you, which is estimated at completion equal BAC divided by CPI. Could you please tell me what is the estimate at completion? How much is the project going to go and cost me if you have your budget at completion and you've just calculated the CPI? Can you guys calculate the total for me? That's the CPI here. So what's the BAC, guys? How much is budgeted at completion?
120,000.
Okay, and how much is CPI?
0.8.
0.8. So 120,000 divided by 0.8 equal how much?
150,000.
150,000. So you know that the estimated at completion, this project is going to be expected to go and cost me $150,000, which is basically more than what I was budgeted to go and pay at that particular point of time. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
So that means that when the project is completed, we actually gonna have spent 150,000
instead of 120.
Okay, yeah.
Make sense?
Do I have to write down this as well?
Yeah, any calculation we give you, you'll have to go and make the calculation for your exam. So that's yes.
Okay.
The second question is, the project is here performing worse than expected. The second question is, use the SPI to estimate how long it will take to finish the project. So the way you do it, I'm going to put another formula. Estimated to complete equal budgeted time divided by SPI. So earlier, we told you the project is budgeted. We told you the timeline is how long is the project? What's the duration we said? We said it's a 1-year project. Correct? Can you see that?
Yeah.
So We want you to calculate estimated to complete, which is the budgeted time divided by SPI. So the budgeted time is 12 months divided by SPI. What is SPI, guys? What is
Schedule
SPI?
performance index.
Yes, so how much is it?
0.91.
It's 0.91. So 12 divided by 0.91 will give me the estimated to complete of that project. So we know, ladies and gentlemen, the estimated to complete, it's going to be 13.19 months. So you basically need to be aware that we will have a question exam on earned value management. And you will have to be able to go and potentially draw a diagram relating to that if you basically asked to do it. I'm not sure what diagram he will give you, but potentially you could basically make a table and making all of these comparisons. But the diagram, I'm going to try to show you. Go to your lecture slides, but I'll show you. I'll show you very quickly a diagram how the earned value management diagram looks like, so that you guys are aware. Earned EVM diagram. Okay, it looks like this. Let me show you. So earned value management diagrams will basically be looking something like this. You'll basically be putting time on one side, the budget on another side, and you'll basically be putting per period. Let's say this is period 2. So, okay, period 2, my earned value was this one. My my schedule was this one. My actual cost was that much. So you basically put at this point of time, how much was my budget, how much was my cost, how much was whatever. You put them here in relation to a particular figure, and this will allow you to be able to go and draw how you are standing from a performance perspective. I think probably this was covered today in the lecture because he's saying it will be in the exam, but just so that you will know, this is what you draw in case you missed it, the lecture today. You put the time, you put the cost, and you put, okay, let's say this is period number 4. In period number 4, the earned value, you put what it is, it's 15,000. The actual cost, it's 20,000. The schedule variance, or sorry, the budget or planned value, what was planned, it's 25. So this is basically what allows you to be able to go and be making the comparison. You can calculate the cost variance, which is the earned value minus actual cost. And you can calculate the schedule variance, which is your earned value minus planned value, which is exactly the same as what I was basically showing you. I earned that much, it took much more longer. That's mean I am behind schedule at that point of time. But you need more time to sit down and explore with those graphs. But this is in summary, the information you need to go and be drawing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any
sir.
questions? No questions?
We have that, those slides you showed us, we have that on Moodle, right?
Yeah, they will be there. I'm going to just open the lecture slides very quickly and show you where it is, which slide.
No, I mean these ones that you're using now. Can we access that?
Yeah,
as well?
the slides that I'm using are all on it. 100%. They are all there. Yeah.
Perfect.
No worries. All right, guys. Any questions? All right, then thank you very kindly for your time, guys. We really care about your success and we want you to do well. So please make sure you study hard, work hard, and we will do our best to go and support you. Make sure you're submitting your work on time. Make sure you're doing very good quality, and we'll do our best to be able to go and guide you to be able to reach the best outcomes you are basically able to go and reach as a student. Thank you very much for all your hard work again, guys, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.